Let's get to California RNC Committeewoman, Attorney Harmeet Dhillon, who joins us on this topic. And, I'm sure Trey Gowdy's right that he's in the minority here. Even the president has basically said, hey, I have nothing to hide, get it out there. What's your thoughts?
Well, in this particular unusual situation, I think that there has been a lot of public demand for this, as well as congressional demand, and it was actually unanimous when they took a vote a couple of weeks ago on this in Congress. And so I do think in this situation that as much of the report should be released as is legal, but as Judge Napolitano just told us, not just 6E, but then there are other categories of information, underlying information that Mueller may have relied on in his conclusions that are protected from release by court rules. And so whether Attorney General Barr wants to release them or not, he's not able to do so without a court order. And I frankly question whether it's going to be productive to release those types of information, grand jury testimony, right. 6E, as was mentioned, and some other categories.
Because if you think about it from that perspective, and especially from the president's opponents, I'm sure this is how they are thinking about it. The most damning of the information out there, hypothetically, if any of that exists, we know there was no indictment of, say, the president or people close to him, certainly on a conspiracy with Russia. If there's any kind of evidence at all, then that most likely would not be, we wouldn't see it, right?
Well, the Democrats right now are very desperate to seize on any sort of a helpline that they can to salvage their egos from their humiliating miscalculation of this situation politically. And so what I see is if that information gets out, that sort of smears people, and I think that there probably is some information like that casts people who are innocent in a critical light, that's going to be used to kind of have more of a sideshow here. And there is a balancing here. We have to balance the needs of the press and the Congress's demand against the rights of private citizens as well. And there are reasons for these rules, and these rules are there to protect citizens. What is left on the table in this discussion is the number of people who are dragged through the mud through this investigation and have had to spend a lot of money and had to they have to go on with their lives. People who are never indicted, never going to be indicted, and didn't do anything wrong. So among the subpoenas that Congress wants to issue later this week include for the White House counsel, Don McGahn, for other attorneys in the White House counsel's office, for Reince Priebus, for Hope Hicks, and for Steve Bannon. So these are people who serve political jobs in the White House. Yeah. We now know there's no reason to believe they committed any crime because there's no indictment, and yet Congress wants to trash them and humiliate them. And there needs to be a balance here. And so while we should satisfy public interest in the report, we need to respect boundaries that are there under our law and that are also subject to a balancing test.
All right, Harmeet Dhillon, it's always good to see you. Thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate it today.
My pleasure.
We'll stay on that story, obviously.